This episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save in 2024. Wireless plans are just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. To get this new customer offer, go to mintmobile.com/TFS. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivemy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week, it's time travel. We're doing the time warp again, and we're talking about X-Men 97.
Oh, it's TV the way it's meant to be, you know? We do TV sometimes, but we don't do TV like this.
Yeah, like I'm not a particularly religious person, but this is the way God intended TV to be.
You know, God's right.
God's right.
You know what? I'm also not very religious, but God's like, we nailed it, guys. I haven't nailed a lot of things, says God.
Who am I to step to them? I don't want to be smited? Smote?
Only God knows.
Only God knows. So we're talking about X-Men 97 this week on the podcast. It is mid-season, so we are going to be talking about episodes 1 to 6 inclusive. So we're going to be talking about episodes 1 through 6. There will be spoilers for those episodes, but we are going to do a spoiler-free review first. So in case you're on the fence about it, you're not sure if you're into it, you're not sure if you want to give it a shot, we will give you a spoiler-free review. Then once you hear the theme music, that is when we will enter our spoiler-filled section. So let's start with the spoiler-free review. Let's start with the usual, the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
I love it. No one listening to this show should be on the fence about watching X-Men 97. It is just superhero junk food. It is so fun. It's been so good. It is just a Shakespearean, superpowered soap opera, and I'm having so much fun. It is such a love letter and reimagining of the original X-Men from the actual 97. I absolutely love it. It's fun, but it's like still emotional, and it's interesting, but it's also crazy like the X-Men are. It's capturing everything that was so good about 97, but updating it just enough. And it's an impossible thing that they've accomplished. I think it is so great. They brought back like half the cast, but all the replacement cast is pretty much doing across the board great jobs of really grasping the tone of this. It's actually kind of a difficult tone to grasp if you haven't really watched the original, which I assume they all did, but it's not a thing to step into super easily. It's super fun. It's super great. It's an absolute love and absolute please watch X-Men 97. You're missing out on a cultural moment if you're not. Also, huge props for releasing one a week. I love this. I love the one a week drop on this one. So yeah, I'm having a great time with X-Men 97. Andrew, do you like X-Men 97?
I think that this fucking rocks.
It slaps.
This absolutely slaps. This rips. This everything's. This is so incredibly good. And I'm trying to remove myself and not just view it from a nostalgia lens, which I like to give myself a pat on the back and think I'm pretty good at that for the most part on this podcast.
I will pat you as well. Would you like your back could be double patted?
I appreciate this back patting. But I'm trying to remove myself from the nostalgia and be like, this is just really good. Like, yes, it does do a fantastic job of kind of capturing that spirit of the 90s and modernizing it a little bit and kind of changing how some tonal pieces and representation works, but also capturing all of the heart of that soap opera, of that weekly release, of that big bombastic world and lifestyle that this exists in. It is everything great from the 90s modernized, and it is just impeccable. It's fun, it's engaging, it's thoughtful, it's heartwarming, it's action-packed, it's tear-jerking. It gives absolutely everything with no holds barred. It's phenomenal.
The holds are not barred. Yes. They are not. No, they didn't also, big, huge, they didn't change the theme song.
Yes.
But they 5% changed it.
I think they just simply remixed and remastered it so it sounds a little bit crisper for modern surround sounds. So it's just little touches like that where they're like, can we keep it the same and can we just make everything that little bit crisper? Obviously the animation is a bit crisper, the aspect ratio is different. This little thing where and I have seen that from things that are we're redoing a 90s thing and we're doing it in 4:3 square television aspect ratio for that kind of factor. here. So these little things where it's like the animation's a bit crisper. We redid the intro, but it's still the same intro mostly. And we remastered the theme song, but still kept it the same. So it's a lot of these little touches where it's like you just spruced things up in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's like when you renovate a home, but you keep the character of it. You're like, oh, well, we can like replace the tiles and use kind of the same style you had.
That house had good bones.
The house was the foundation was so strong. They were like, put some paint on the walls, you're good.
It had good bones.
Had good bones.
It had
the
good bones.
X-Men have good bones.
X-Men
Wolverine
97 has he has some of the best bones.
If you want to talk about someone's good
bones, it's probably Wolverine.
Wolverine.
So this is just fantastic. I would say that anyone who was a fan of the 97 version, or anyone who wasn't, frankly.
Is there anyone who wasn't?
I mean, people who are younger than us.
Oh, like if you haven't watched it, not like you disliked it.
Yeah,
I don't know anyone who's ever disliked it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, if you don't have a nostalgia for that, if you're younger or for whatever reason that doesn't hold a special place in your heart, I think that this is also great. It doesn't necessarily do a fantastic job of onboarding new viewers, but I think it's fantastic and it's worth a watch.
I agree with that. That was going to be pretty much my only complaint is the onboarding is not easy. Like you definitely know who these characters are, but where they are in their lives is not necessarily cleared up super well right off the top. It was like, I did not just watch the series finale from 1997, but you think I did apparently.
Yeah, and there's a boldness to that, which we can get into.
We'll get into.
But yeah, it doesn't do the best job onboarding, but I think it is still worth it. I think someone who would be potentially a new viewer without the nostalgia for the original 97 version, if they have some familiarity with these characters, even though you may not know where the 97 version left off, you'll be like, oh, Magneto. Can he be trusted? Like, you can kind of catch up with the general gist of knowing the zeitgeist of these characters.
Yeah, they're not... In a way, they're not revolutionizing anything.
Yeah.
They're not like, we're totally changing the X-Men. It's like, no, if you've seen even the live action, you get who everyone is.
Well, if you're young enough that you don't have a warmth for 97, all of your cultural touchstones of the X-Men have been based on things that have been influenced by X-Men 97 at this point. So,
Fair.
yeah. So it would have a level of familiarity to it. And can it be spoiled?
Yep. That's all we'll say there.
Big yes.
Big old yes. I flip-flop on a spoiler rating sometimes.
Yeah.
This is a big old yes.
I agree. This is a big old yes. They take some big swings, and I think in many different ways it can be spoiled. If you're a fan of the comics, it can be spoiled that it's like they're doing this storyline.
Yes.
If you're not a fan of the comics, it can be spoiled to be like they're doing this story. So I think in every tier of what a spoiler can be, the enjoyment of this show can be spoiled a little bit.
All levels of spoilers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that does it for the spoiler-free review. We are both a love for this, and we both think that it can be spoiled. And now we will enter the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk more about X-Men 97. All right, we have seen the first 6 episodes of X-Men 97. There will be spoilers ahead. They really just go for it, huh?
They went for it, but they didn't really go for it till like episode 5. Like they didn't rock our worlds, I would say, until episode 5. It was really, really good still. But then episode 5, they were like, hey, you want to just have your boots shaken off your body? Here you go.
Boots shaken off your body.
No boots anymore.
No boots.
No, any kind of footwear removed. Via the shock and awe and just utter greatness of episode 5.
I agree with that. But also episode 5 earns it. Like, that's not to say that 1 through 4 are not good. 1 through 4, I think, are remarkable in the sense of, like, I love that this is existing at a speed that current cartoons do not exist at, which is this frenetic soap opera pace that, like, 90s X-Men, and, like, trying to remove myself from the nostalgia factor and just be like, how were things done differently? it wasn't, it was done in a way where it was like, it was almost like it was going to be the only step to bat that the X-Men were ever going to get. So they were trying to do every comic book story that ever existed at a frenetic speed and pace where it's like, someday they're going to pull the plug on this and the X-Men will never be on television again. You know, that was the speed that 97 existed. Whereas now it's like a lot of superhero and comic book based properties are like, we're doing this storyline as a 3-movie arc that will be the next 10 years. And to see this come in and just immediately be like, Jean's a clone, the Shi'ar Empire is here, Genosha's now being bombed. Like, just to be like, we are trying to just vomit every comic book storyline simultaneously. And it's a speed that works, but it just doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that's hard for me to, I mean, I guess, do you mean anywhere or just in cartoons? Because I'm not sure how many cartoons I watch anymore.
Oh, I think just kind of anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of like, yeah, just like, let's shotgun some storylines. Because, yeah, which is what I think makes it like soap opera-esque in a very fun way. Because like any other, like if you made a new X-Men show today, it would be like, the Jean is a clone reveal would be the season finale. It wouldn't be the episode 1 cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And just so casually announced.
You would
I
not
love
get...
the there's got to be a word for casualness. The casualness of like the way that fucked up things happen on X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Beast just walks into a room and he's like, "Oh shit, you've been a clone this whole time, Jean. That's crazy, right?"
Here we go. And the fact that everyone's dealing with craziness simultaneously, the alternate storylines and things like that, the parallel running storylines, I think is something that, you know, they did in the 90s and that really works here as well, which really kind of adds to the like craziness is happening always in every facet of reality.
Yeah, like in the last episode, having like Xavier and Storm at the same time find out about the attack on Genosha. It's like, oh, this lines up all the characters really well, but they also got their own stories first before they found out about Genosha. So like they're all fully fleshed out. They have agency, but also it's just craziness.
Yeah, because like to go back to your point of the like Jean being a clone would be like the season finale cliffhanger. If this show existed standalone today, not continuing the momentum and style of 97, I think Jean is a clone is an entire season that they milk for a full season.
Oh, yes.
You don't burn multiple comic book storylines while doing the Madeline Pryor storyline. But there's something just so soap opera, so high drama about doing it all so fast and at this frenetic speed that really adds to it.
It does. It's kind of weird though, because I agree that original 97. I don't know how to call the original, because I would have called the original X-Men 97 if this wasn't called X-Men 97.
We'll just say original.
The original.
Yeah.
The original would like. You're right that they would like pound through storylines, but I also kind of thought of that show as kind of slow paced just because the animation didn't move super fast and they wouldn't want to make a lot of background. So like Wolverine would kind of just be standing there for a minute and have a long conversation with Jean. But like this does feel like it's just moving at a clip.
Yeah. It's moving at a clip in that very soap opera way of like something dramatic has to happen in every episode in order to keep children's attention.
Adults who are nostalgic for the characters they love.
And nostalgic adults' attention.
We're coming back every week. We got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Who will Rogue choose, Magneto or Gambit?
And like that storyline is such high drama and works. Even the season just starting with like Charles left Magneto, the X-Men. What a dramatic bitch. What an absolutely pure drama move.
For Magneto to walk into the X-Mansion with Xavier's will, which is in a fully bound book.
Yeah.
What else is in there? Did anyone have time to read this fucker yet? Like, that is a long In My Last Regard.
Yeah. There and Back by Professor Charles Xavier.
He wrote it from the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah.
He's been sending telegrams down. But yeah, walking in with a full book, and he's like, got a shirt with an M on it now. He's like, I'm here, bitches. Everyone knows it's Magneto, new leader of the X-Men. Yeah, this season has been wildly fun. And another thing I like that they're doing, which I do think a lot of, actually maybe this is more of a DC thing. Even though there's so many characters, they're not adding a lot of characters. It mostly is original cast. Like Roberto / Sunspot is kind of the only
addition
to the
for
bunch.
now anyway.
For now.
Yeah.
But I really, really appreciate that because I feel like whenever you reboot a show like Justice League Unlimited or you do Young Justice, a show without Justice in the title maybe, you always like kind of there's always this draw of like we got to add new characters that new fans will like or we got to like upgrade it or whatever. And I'm like, I really appreciate that they were like, there's a lot of X-Men, so we're just sticking with who we got.
I think that is a good call. As much as in the examples you use, both Justice League Unlimited absolutely rules, and Young Justice is terrific in season 1. But
See, in season 1, before they add all those extras.
I guess that was later on.
And
okay.
I like original Justice League more than Unlimited.
I understand. Okay, I
That's a different
understand that. That's a different
conversation,
conversation. That's a different conversation. I respect both. I think they have different vibes.
Fair enough.
But yes, they're keeping it to the core with the addition of Sunspot. Yeah, which I think is a fine addition and like yeah.
I think he's like the weakest. Him and Jubilee are the weakest point of the show.
Yeah, but pair them off. I think they got half an episode. You know, that's kind of breezy.
It's kind of breezy. It's an episode that could have gone to Nightcrawler or something.
Uh-huh.
More Nightcrawler.
Uh-huh.
I don't want any wasted space on my episodes.
In their episode, though, or in their like half an episode, because episode 4 is Motendo / Life of Death Part 1, which is also a wild Saturday morning 90s kind of energy to be like, we made half of an episode and we slammed it together with a Part 1, and Part 2 is not next week. You'll come back next week and think you've missed an episode, but you didn't. We're doing Part 2 later. That is such a wild Saturday morning energy that they have brought to the streaming service Disney Plus in the year 2024.
This is crazy because it's the kind of thing that I can barely wrap my head around in 2024, and as a child would have absolutely lost my mind.
Yeah.
I would have been like, what do you mean Part 2 isn't even the next week?
Yeah.
Part 2, there's Part 1, and it's only half of the episode, and then next week is the Genosha attack, and then you get Part 2.
Yeah.
And that's insanity. That's the kind of like thing where like you're like, well, there must have been like a weird behind the scenes reason, or like the episodes are out of order for
The animation team didn't deliver on time for the episode, so they filled it in with a thing or whatever.
Yeah, but this was absolutely on purpose.
Yeah.
100%.
100% intentional.
Insanity to choose this.
Ah, love it.
But I also like, I get the 2 episodes in one as a very kids, because like, you know, it's like kids can only watch, sometimes they only feel like an 11-minute story.
I get it. And also the Sunspot Jubilee story only needs maybe a tight 15. Even as fun as Motendo was, I think like Mojo is a fun villain. This, they are sucked into the, I think it was the Sega Genesis 2D side-scrolling X-Men game, and then playing with that with like some of the history of X-Men video games and going for that like 32-bit look for some of it. I was like, that is wildly, like, for people who are here for the nostalgia factor, you made a fucking buffet out of that episode in particular.
Okay, well, I'm that episode for you. That episode did nothing for me, especially because I always feel like video game episodes, just in general, to me, are like episodes that take place in dreams.
It is similar to a dreamscape.
It's basically a dream episode.
Yeah.
It's very like, you're going to get out and you're going to be fine and nothing's real. Like Jubilee and Roberto aside, I'm like, I never like stuff in video games.
Fair enough. Although if you die in the game, you die in real life, as Mojo jokes, because stakes. And I like that as Mojo, like being like a bit of a fourth wall breaker to be like, if you die, I don't want to say if you die in here, you die in real life, but things need stakes.
You got to do it.
And then not saying it, just implying it. But
how else are you going to find out if you die in here, if you die in real life? The only way to do it is survive. You going to risk it? You're going to risk it, Jubilee.
Play it safe and survive.
Around electricity.
And here is the other thing that this show has done that is a little bit different, but kind of keeping the spirit alive. Very horny. This show is, I'm going to say that like there is a level of hornt that is in the original 97, and they took that dial, they turned it to 12, and they ripped it off. Like, there is a level of, like, when Magneto shows up and takes over the X-Men and then comes back in, like, a 1950s weightlifter onesie with a giant M on his chest. It was, like, sleeveless, but with gloves, I think, if I remember correctly. It's like, excuse me, sir?
It's a little roguelike in its design, in a way.
It is a little roguelike,
I will agree, it's very horny. It almost feels like because as kids, we watch this show as kids, and it feels like kids who watched this show and maybe had like a slight sexual awakening watching it, then got to make it as adults, and we're like, well, now it's just going to be super
Well,
horny.
now it's going to be way hornier.
We're the kids who were awoken by the original, and now we're going to put Gambit in a little crop top.
Yep.
We're gonna have Xavier talk about how his children are making love back on Earth and drinking wine and dancing.
He did say making love.
He said the words "making love." We're gonna have Emma Frost doing her thing, of course, looking fine as hell as always. We're gonna have 2 Jeans who can one for Scott, one for Cyclops, one for Wolverine. They're all gonna make out. They're gonna have not even a love triangle. This is a square at this point. This is a fucking square. You got 2 girls, you got 2 guys. They all like each other, except Scott, Cyclops, and Wolverine, who hate each other.
Yeah.
But this
more of a claw if you think about it like that.
What way?
It's like Cyclops, Jean, Wolverine, no connection.
Oh yeah, the
there.
no connection.
There's no connection there.
Oh, I see. It looks more like a family
No connection
tree.
there. Although, yeah,
But
more
each
of a.
gene has to be able
it looks
to get
like
to
a claw.
But each gene has to be able to get to Cyclops and Wolverine.
Well, if you diagonal it, it
Oh, you
makes
can
it more of
diagonal.
like a claw then as well.
I think I am seeing what you're picturing.
Yeah.
now.
Cyclops bottom left, Wolverine bottom right.
They
then
never connect.
Jean, Madeline top left, top right, and then they connect in almost a square, but no Wolverine and Cyclops, and then some diagonals, and it makes a claw.
You know what? Here's my
Love claw.
love claw, love it. Love claw, love square. I'm gonna do because this show's been crazy. Off the walls bonker. Season finale. Wolverine and Scott hook up.
Love it.
We're gonna complete
Why not?
the square. Complete
Why not?
the square.
Why not?
I'm completing the square.
I do not have a single reason why not.
Why not? Just because they hate each other? Why? That can evoke a real passion.
And Magneto's got horned up. Gambit got horned up even more than previously. Like there's a level of sex appeal that is going off the chains in this show.
Even in the last episode, they turned Storm into her very sexy costume.
Oh yeah,
Because she had OG costume at start, and now that she's gotten her powers back, they were like, yeah, it's mid-2000s costume now with all the body cutouts.
Let's up the sex appeal on Storm.
Up in the sex appeal on Storm.
Yeah. And then we've got like the Rogue Magneto relationship. More love, more sex, more horned up clothing. Just generally, the vibes are a good bit hornier.
Good bit hornier. I mean, like, it's one of the cool, not cool? Sure, cool.
Cool, lay it on me.
The coolest way to confirm the characters have had sex, even though they don't show them, is when someone's pregnant. So it's like, well, you guys fucked.
Yes.
Even if you're children, you have to be like, those characters fucked.
They fuck.
Because Jean's pregnant.
Jean's pregnant, they fuck.
So they've been fucking.
So we got that on the table. Yeah, so we've got that on the table. And I do think as well that like this version is kind of being more of the metaphor for sexuality than some of the previous iterations of X-Men. Because X-Men over the decades has represented, this voice of people who feel othered in society, like going back to suffering from anti-Semitism or homophobia or whatever it might be.
Civil rights movement, whatever.
In many different movements, in many different eras, the X-Men can represent different things to people who are suffering from discrimination. And I feel like this version is existing more on the spectrum of sexuality and sexual understanding and that level of discrimination than some of the previous versions.
I will agree with that to an extent. Like, I do think there is kind of an LGBTQ awareness and factor in here that definitely hasn't been in previous iterations.
Yeah.
I don't really like labeling what each iteration is about because I think it's very important to just let it be whatever you want it to be.
Entirely fair. Absolutely entirely fair.
If you feel oppressed or othered and you connect with the X-Men and any iteration of that, that's all for you. But this does feel like the first one that is kind of explicitly acknowledging queer culture.
Yes.
So it's like a nice upgrade. It can still mean all those other things it's always meant.
Absolutely.
But there is a nice and here's the 5% we added in the reboot.
Right. Yeah. We've added a certain level of explicit value to this community that perhaps was implied value previously.
Yes, implied value. This is a great phrasing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you for helping me phrase it out. I wouldn't have gotten there if it weren't for you. I felt very clunky explaining it and bringing it up.
No, I think it made perfect sense, but yeah, I think it's X-Men's for pretty much everyone.
Yes.
Everyone connects with one X-Men to such a degree. Everyone I know anyway. Like
Yeah.
there's that like literally the last episode started and I started crying because Nightcrawler was in the opening credits. Like actual tears came down my face.
It's huge for you.
It's huge for me. And I don't even know why I connect with Nightcrawler and specifically so much, but everyone just feels something for one X-Men. Who would you
Yeah.
say your X-Men is?
I mean, probably Wolverine. I'm a little grumpy and a reluctant leader.
You really are. We've discussed this off mic so many times.
Yeah.
In literally every social setting, whether our friends or complete strangers, Andrew becomes the de facto unwanted, like doesn't want to be leader, reluctant leader, and it is so funny every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry this is always thrust upon you, love.
And every time I want to be alone and quiet. Like strangers flock to me where it's like,
Can you help me find where to go?
what is happening here? Like I've been just like alone camping in a campground next to me. It's like, hi, what you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to be alone. So I don't know.
I feel
There's
like
this.
even when you do like your marathons or your long bike rides and like it's your first year doing it and people who have done it for years will be like, you seem to really know what you're doing. You're going to be our leader. And you come home and you're like, it happened again. I went to a new thing and I still ended up being the leader.
How am I also on X-Force? Like it's that. Exactly.
Alpha flight,
Right?
fuck.
Oh, I was just trying to get a drink with Puck. Like just that is exactly such a core me thing.
Andrew is absolutely Wolverine, you guys. He'll also cut a fool if they step to him.
So that's where
your
I'm
memory's bad.
that's true.
It's true.
It's true. So that's where I'm at there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm Nightcrawler for you. I'm glad that your boy is getting to pop up, getting to slide in.
He didn't get to be in this episode, and I did feel like an asshole because I was like, oh, he took Gambit's spot. That's great. R.I.P. Gambit. Such a good ending. But
Absolute legend Gambit.
Absolute legend Gambit. We will get into this in a moment. But yeah, I really, really thought Nightcrawler was dying that episode because he got shot real bad.
He did get
so
shot
for him to then just be like in the opening credits, I was like, that's a real step up from my boy Kurt. Because he was only in one episode of the OG series.
Was it really only one episode?
I'm pretty sure one or two. It was very
Yeah.
few. He was a main character on the one, what was the one where they're in high school?
Evolution, I believe?
Evolution. He was a main on Evolution.
Yes.
I loved that show. That
Yeah.
one was great. And then he was in a lot of episodes of Wolverine and the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
He was a main on that one. But like, he was never a big part of this original one, even though he's like an OG X-Men. So I'm happy for my boy.
Nice.
He's
Nice.
going to be bamfing around.
Yep. And taking Gambit's place.
Taking Gambit's place. I guess he's got to fuck Rogue now. That's his sister. No, wait. That's
No,
his sister.
yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Not biologically.
Is it not biologically?
No, Mystique raised her.
Oh, right. Okay.
'Cause,
Really?
like, yeah, because her family kicked her out because she had powers.
Yeah.
And then Mystique adopted her to
Yeah.
like raise her.
Oh, okay.
But Mystique is biologically Kurt's mom.
Is that comic book or is that 97 though?
I think it's both.
Is it both? Okay. I for some reason I have a like half memory of
Mm.
her actually like Mystique was pretending to be a human woman and then like was impregnated by a human man.
Oh.
And then had a mutant baby that was Rogue.
No, that's Nightcrawler.
That's Nightcrawler. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. I think I'm mixing. Yeah, I think I'm conflating the two.
Yeah.
But
She'd be blue.
Yeah.
She's not blue.
That's a good point. So let's talk about episode 5.
Holy shit.
The big one, I would say. The big one, the Genosha gets UN recognition and then attacked by a crazy master mold and is the death of Gambit.
Yeah.
And potentially, and Magneto.
Wink. No body. He's fine.
Magneto's dead. Wink. On the books. Magneto's dead. On the books.
Me opening IMDb. How many episodes is the voice actor in? On the books.
On the books.
But Gambit actually.
Yeah. Gambit, I believe, is actually
It's
toast.
very rare to get one of these deaths that's just like straight up wounds.
Yeah.
I feel like normally when you kill an X-Men, it's like, we shot them into space, or the Phoenix Force blew them up.
We hit them with the evaporation gun, and they evaporated in a way that.
Or you got the weird cable disease from the future, the tech disease or something. But yeah, to just be like, no, he got blown up in an explosion. It's like, that's hard to come back from.
Yeah. Well, he got stabbed through the stomach first, then blown up in an explosion.
With the thing that was stabbed in his stomach.
Yeah. And I think also his body glowed as if he himself was about to explode. Oh. So I think the whole system kind of had a bad feedback loop and then blew up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, real badass way to go.
Real badass way to go. Can we just start at the beginning though?
Yeah.
Because even without Gambit's death, this episode was so good.
Yeah.
This episode, this is an episode where Magneto was dropping these Shakespearean bangers, but then right next to him is Emma Frost, who is doing the best episodes of a real life Housewives episode you've ever seen.
This woman is just cutting bitches.
She is, but somehow these two mesh so good. This Shakespearean asshole and this reality star bitch.
What was her line?
I wrote it down.
If I remember correctly, is it what's wrong other than your dress?
I think that is what's the matter besides your dress. She said to the human lady from the UN.
Emma.
Absolutely killer. Absolutely killer. But then Magneto's throwing out lines like this one that he said to Rogue. I had to write this down. This one was crazy. Loving you makes broken men whole. So even as you deny us, our heartache is not in vain. What?
Eric?
Big capital M Magneto.
Magnus?
Oh my God.
Goodness.
We shall not live our days wondering if we could have saved more.
Holy shit. That was wild. Genosha being attacked and just him being like, we are dying saving people. I'm never going to live another day with regret.
No regrets. His end line being in German.
Oh my God.
This is it's incredible that this episode managed to have an incredible death for Gambit, incredible agency, a good story, and a potentially great death for Magneto in the same 33 minutes.
Yes.
That's insanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe the amount of things that came together. And to tie in all of that love triangle and for Gambit to die not knowing that Rogue chose him.
Don't tell me that. Oh, that's so heartbreaking.
The going to his grave with the unrequited love of Rogue and then her holding him body and saying that she can't feel him. Mm-hmm. Just to be feeling his presence was the most important thing, and that being the last thing that he said to her, to be there's more about feeling a person than touch, or I forget his exact phrasing of it.
But then she can touch him because he's dead,
but she
there's
can't
no
feel
power
him.
to drain.
She can't feel him emotionally. It wasn't about the power.
No,
it was about
she can't feel him emotionally, but she also
Oh my God.
Yeah. But also when she touches people, she absorbs their emotions. So she can't feel him. It's
I see what you're saying there.
She can't feel him no matter what in this moment.
I think it means I took it to more mean the company, the presence of a person, the soul or whatever one might believe in
for interpretation. But a beautiful, wonderful death. It's hard to get deaths right.
Yeah.
That aren't just for the storylines of others or of your own agency. And for both of these two. And also I looked it up. The showrunner Bo DeMaio. I don't know how to pronounce this. Apologies. Sure. Wrote or co-wrote every episode this season. He fully wrote this one alone. Mm-hmm. So he didn't even have a co-writer on this one. This was all him.
Yeah.
And just kudos to him because I do want to say from an entire episode writing perspective, this episode does one of the coolest misleads that almost feels like bad writing, but is actually just an incredible setup, if I may lay down what happens, which I thought was so cool. So it's Rogue, it's Magneto, and Gambit all arrive at Genosha. And Rogue and Magneto are this place is great, we're having such a good time. And Gambit is very suspicious that this place is too good to be true. So for half the episode, Gambit's looking to find what's going on in the shadows. And he's this can't be right. This is too good. Everything's too nice. And at one point he's apples are crazy expensive. What's going on?
Right.
And that leads a seed of doubt of this episode's going to be about Gambit finding something rotten in the state of Genosha. He's going to find mutants are working off debt, or some mutants can't afford to live here, or there's going to be some little conspiracy in Genosha that Gambit's going to find. Where the episode leads is there's no conspiracy, they get attacked by Megamind. So something wrong happened in Genosha.
Right.
But Gambit's suspicions lead nowhere in a way that's purposeful, where you were prepared for Genosha to have a bad storyline, but you weren't prepared for it to be this bad.
Interesting.
And I think that's such cool writing to put this like little mislead of what's wrong in Genosha in there. Like, why were apples $10? That's kind of weird.
The seed of concern, yeah.
But it's not where it leads at all, but it's not like just a lie.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
I think that was such a cool writing choice because it felt like it was like, oh, that was a waste of screen time for a second until I was like, no, that was to lead you astray on what you think's going to happen in this episode.
See, I kind of took that as like his personal trauma of, I can't remember who was with him. It was him, Jubilee, and I think one other X-Man who were before Genosha. This Genosha was the mutant state when it was a mutant like slave country.
They were prisoners.
And he was a prisoner there, forced to into forced labor. So I took that more of as a like he's the one bringing past trauma to this place, whereas this is a paradise to everyone else. This was his prison. But yeah, that's all. But also, it still does the same function.
The $10 apples.
Yeah,
you're right that he was like, no, I used to work over there against my will. Totally valid things to bring up.
But it still sows the seed of kind of like distrust and feeling that things are a little bit wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but nothing was wrong as far as we know.
Yeah, other than Master Mold showing up.
I mean, that was wrong, but that wasn't like a rotten like council member or like anything that Genosha was doing. Because even in the last episode, we found out it was Sinister.
Yeah,
that fucking guy.
Yeah, this fucking guy is out here still doing shit.
Cape.
Yeah. Just get a regular cape, dude.
Just sew that bitch together. What's it even doing at that point?
Just gotta go get a regular cape. I don't know what your deal is.
I can't believe this guy's not a mutant. Every time Sinister comes up, I have to look up his deal every time.
Yeah, he's a mad scientist who's harvested mutant organs.
Yeah, he's kind of made himself a mutant, but like he doesn't have any genetic mutant powers.
He's like a self-made Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so but he's a wild dude.
He is a wild dude. Yeah, his look to actual coolness ratio is off the chart. I'm like, wow, you look like a badass. I'm like, I think you're kind of an idiot.
I think he's just kind of a dude.
Why did you clone Jean? What?
Why did you? That's the other thing about episode 5. There's so much fucking going on in the show. Episode 5 sees the conclusion of the love triangle between Rogue and Magneto and Gambit, and her choosing Gambit, and the death of both of her love interests and the fall of Genosha. And we also find out in that episode that Cyclops has been having a psychic love affair with Madeline Pryor that Jean telepathically walks in on.
Uh-huh.
That is a wild C plot. And then they get like the psychic connection gets broken up. Madeline's like, whoa. Anyway, I got a meeting. She's like at a meeting. She's at a UN meeting.
She's sexting in the middle of a UN psychic sexting. Now, the craziest thing about that is also Jean's insane this episode because she breaks up their mental sexcapades. Or actually, they were just having a conversation. They did smooch at the end.
Yeah.
But they were literally talking about their dead son that they sent to the future.
Yeah.
A thing that Jean's not a part of.
Yep.
And Jean comes in, she's like, were you having a mental conversation? No, I did not just kiss Wolverine in the lake. She just kissed Wolverine in the lake.
She also just kissed Wolverine in the lake.
So maybe you could tone it down a little. Cyclops is dealing with a dead son you never met. So I think we got to cut this guy a break.
You've got to give him a little slack be like, at worst, this is a guy communicating with his ex-wife about their child.
Yeah.
Which is an entirely fine thing for a spouse to do.
And
also, I don't know how telepathic kisses work on the cheating scale.
Yeah, I do.
That's maybe not great, but you kissed Wolverine by the lake as well.
You physically
kissed Wolverine by the lake.
He didn't even initiate it.
He did not.
He didn't do anything.
He did not.
And like I know that you and Madeline aren't sure when you switched places, but no one is arguing that Madeline's not the mother of the kid.
Yes, no one's arguing.
She is absolutely the mother of the kid. So you got to give him this one, Jean.
Yeah.
You got to step off this little crazy train you're on.
And also, Madeline kind of like conceded the whole thing to you.
Madeline is thriving. She's like, oh, by the way, I run Genosha.
Yeah. You want the name Jean? Have it.
It's got a lot of baggage.
This dude? Take him. I am running Genosha.
There's something about a clean break that can really...
I respect it.
Madeline's
thriving.
They've also done really fun things in the opening. I already mentioned Nightcrawler, but like just really fun little changes, like how like when Jean had her hair down when the show started, and when it revealed to be Madeline and it changed to Jean, she had her hair in a ponytail now, and it's like,
yeah,
neat. I think this is neat.
That's a neat little Easter egg.
I like little Easter eggs that don't affect the plot and are just fun to know.
Also, the silhouette of the Watcher in the sky during episode 5 to let you know, to be like, this is gonna be a big one.
That was so cool.
That was really cool.
That was so subtle. But to be like, if the Watcher is tuned in,
Yeah.
you know that's you don't want to miss that bad boy.
Yeah, I'm very curious what silhouette of the Watcher they used, if it is, because I think the original 97 one might have had the Watcher at one point. I can't remember if that was Spider-Man or not. But if they used that one, or if it's like the Disney Plus What If Watcher now, that is like the multiversal connection. So I'm curious like what silhouette they used, but I couldn't quite figure it out from the from the image.
Either way, or just their own special little Watcher.
Or yeah, it might be their own special little
It could be
Watcher.
anybody.
Yeah.
I think just like some silly stuff, which is like we've talked about how like, oh man, the Gambit death was so sad. They're so good at the drama, and then it gets into just like wildly silly things. I didn't actually almost drop the show, but I did almost have to leave the room for a minute when Rogue absorbed the powers of a doctor.
Oh yeah, what was that? What was that about? What was the deal with that?
What's the deal with doctors?
What was up with that?
First of all, I have so many questions. One, Madeline and Cyclops, how did you not have a birth plan that involved a doctor who would deliver a baby for you?
A doctor in any way.
Their Beast is a doctor.
Yes.
Let him deliver your baby. Have some kind of birth plan. They had nothing in place. They showed up at a hospital that didn't treat mutants.
Yep.
Do some research.
Yep. You
didn't go to a single Lamaze class, apparently.
You know, personally, I'm going to say like 4 out of the 10 genius level intellects on Earth. You have Reed Richards' phone number. You know what I mean? Like you have the number of genius level intellects.
You do. I don't know if I'm going to Reed Richards right away, but you know doctors. Doctor Strange?
Strange.
Actual doctor.
Actual medical doctor.
Actual medical doctor.
Yep.
Sinister could deliver a baby.
Frankly, could. Don't. But could.
Don't.
But could.
But yeah, Beast.
Yeah.
Real smart people.
Yeah. Reed could at the very least be like, okay, in case there's a weird telepathic contraction that explodes the mind of everyone around you, I've created a telepathic dampening field, or like I built a birthing suite in the Phantom Zone. Like,
Reed's gonna have that covered.
Yeah. Reed's gonna have some aspect covered of like, I have like a bunch of Ultron robots to give birth to you in the Phantom Zone.
But Rogue's powers are, if she touches you, she gets your mutant abilities.
Yeah.
And she will absorb some
of your memories.
Some of your memories. I don't think in order to absorb 12 years of medical school, she would have had to kill that man. She would have had to do a full-on what she did to Captain Marvel to steal her powers to Carol Danvers. Like full coma. If you want someone's entire memory bank of knowledge. And also, like, so many people deliver babies. This wasn't a surgery.
Yeah.
It's like, is the cervix dilated? Pop it out.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
And like, day of, you didn't have a plan day. You hadn't thought, where do I go? Like, you didn't have a bag packed, a hospital route picked out. Like, just no planning from the leader of the X-Men.
And you knew you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, this was not a surprise.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel
you and your husband, like you're sending Scott to the UN? A man who hasn't picked out a hospital?
I don't know if he's the leader we need.
I don't know.
Maybe there's a reason Magneto is here.
Although they did make Scott much cooler. They've upped his cool level in this.
They really did. I really
that first action scene of like him dropping in on like the Friends of Humanity gang and stuff like that. That was cool as hell.
I mean, also letting him be able to land without a flyer catching him, using his eye beams to just fucking kind of what Iceman used to do with ice.
Yeah.
To slow himself down.
Yeah.
He was like, I could just eye beam.
Yeah, I'll start it high and turn it to low.
Sure. I think it'd be easier for Rogue to just grab you, but whatever you want to do. She was around.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done a really good job of making Cyclops like cool.
Yeah.
And like at a slight expense to Wolverine that I'm okay with. Wolverine is very much a background character on this show.
They have made him kind of a background piece. Yeah, which I'm a mixed bag on. I think they know that he is like the biggest kind of cultural touchstone of the X-Men, with the popularity of the movie franchise and Hugh Jackman being like the only actor who just persisted through goddamn everything.
I mean, the previous cartoon show was called Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah. So they know where their bread gets buttered, and I think maybe they're actively trying to like avoid falling into the like we're the Wolverine show.
They definitely are. There was like literally the only thing the showrunner who got fired right after this show aired, which is a whole thing we don't have a lot of information on.
Very suspicious and strange.
His only comment that he's made literally about the show is that I made an X-Men show and not a Wolverine show. Which I think is fair. Wolverine has really gotten literally 0 storylines though, so like he
got a smooch and that's it.
He got a smooch that he didn't initiate.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind if he did get a few more, but I do like that it is very much like this is an ensemble X-Men show.
Yeah.
It is not the Wolverine show.
Yeah. I think one of the bigger losses of it not being a Wolverine show is that in the original 90s series, even though yes there was a lot of Wolverine, maybe a bit more than we needed, it gave a lot of great shout outs to Canada, which
have not had.
You didn't see at the time. You weren't seeing a lot of Canadian representation in your Saturday morning cartoons. So like when I'm up on Saturday morning and it's Wolverine chopping wood in Alberta, I'm like, what's up, my there's something.
They went to St. John's one time.
Yeah. That
one episode
that was
in
wild
your
for me.
hometown.
That was wild for me.
I can't even imagine how huge that is as a young X-Men fan.
I was doing spins in the living room.
Yeah.
That Homer Simpson whoop 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 whoop, like just running around in a circle.
Wolverine came to my hometown.
Ripping tables out of the ground, flipping them over. So it's a shame that we won't see a lot of Canada in this.
We won't see a lot. You know what is very interesting when I was going through the cast list? A lot of most of, if not all of the original voice actors were Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it was I don't know if that's why they were like, put St. John's in there.
I mean, maybe.
More
maybe.
Alberta, please.
Yeah. But it was a time when like a lot of animation dubbing was done in Toronto, in Canada.
Yeah. So like most of them were Canadian, because I think you told me this story before. When Spider-Man did Across the Spider-Verse animated, like not now, the 90s Spider-Man.
Okay.
Literally the only X-Men they could get was Storm, because she was the only one who was LA based and every other voice actor was in Canada.
Oh, I didn't know this. This wasn't me who told this. This wasn't me who told you this.
I'm positive you told me this.
If it was, I don't recall ever holding this information or having this conversation.
90s Spider-Man had that big crossover. The X-Men are there, the Fantastic Four are there.
And they had Cap as well.
Yes, Cap was there. So it was like a huge 90s crossover. And Storm was the only X-Men there because her voice actor was the only one who lived in LA where that show did voice acting.
Interesting. Okay, I don't recall this. Yeah, this doesn't ring a bell. I think it was someone else who told you this.
Hope I'm right.
Well, okay.
Because I haven't fact-checked my mind.
Yes, I hope you're right in that. I was like, I don't really care if I told it to you or not. But yes, in general, I
hope these facts are correct.
I also hope that you're right. Mm-hmm.
And shout-outs to the returning voice actors. That must be cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wrote down who's returning. Returning is Storm, Wolverine, Rogue, Beast, and Nightcrawler. And then Gambit's weird because the original Gambit voice actor is now Cable.
Okay.
So he's back, but he's playing
shuffling
Cable.
around.
Yeah. His voice, I guess, dropped.
I mean, great. Do a little
changes.
recasting, do a little moving around. It's great to hear these actors come back. It's also some terrific voice matching as well. So there's some really good stuff going on there. It's and Ross Marquand doing Professor X, a classic. He is so good at voice matching absolutely fucking anybody.
I'm actually surprised he's not more characters. I actually really like when one actor plays one character. I like seeing people get work. I like the way it differentiates. It means you can play off people in the booth. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm really surprised they didn't give him more characters to play.
Yeah.
He is so good at voice matching.
He might play something else down the road.
Yeah, that's fair. They're not just going to waste Ross Marquand like that. Yeah.
Not that it's a waste. Like, I think that Professor X is going to be playing a larger role going forward.
He's a pretty guy. He's the first guy in the credits.
Yes.
And he's been dead most of the season.
Yeah.
He's still number one build.
Yeah. I on the Professor X tip. So the last episode we watched was 6, the one with the Shi'ar Empire marriage situation.
I feel like you had a lot of fondness in your heart for the Shi'ar that I didn't know about.
The Shi'ar are fun. They're out there fucking up shit, fighting Kree. They're having a great time.
I love your face just lights up when you talk about
Guardians.
the Shi'ar.
Guardians do it a lot. I don't know. They got fucking pirates involved and stuff. It's a blast.
That's great. Tell me more.
So it's a pretty good time. What a bullshitty situation Charles was put in. What an absolute, just to go to Goof Corner for a second.
Soap operas exist across the galaxy.
To go to Goof Corner for a second.
I will join you in Goof Corner.
Is that, so they have this situation where it is Leilana,
Landra?
Lilandra, I'm going to say.
Something like that.
The queen of the Shi'ar Empire.
The Empress, I believe.
The Empress of the Shi'ar Empire, in love with Charles, is like, we're going to get married. And her sister is like, well, if you're going to get married, why doesn't he prove you he loves you so much by wiping his memory of everything that happened on Earth? Which I am going to say is all of his mental capacity. That's him as a human being. You are talking about lobotomizing the man and turning him into the mental equivalent of a 3-year-old. And like, for him to be like, I'd do it because I'd love you that much. I'm like, you're not you anymore.
Yeah.
If you delete 60 years of your life from your brain, you do not love her. You are not you. You are a very scared person in a place you don't understand because none of the accumulated knowledge of your life has led here. You are just a man screaming 24 hours a day, unable to understand the world.
It does raise some questions of logistics that I'm not sure Deathbird thought through.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't have to worry about him as a potential ally if you removed 60 years of his memories. That is true. He would also just be in a vegetative state.
Yes.
I mean, there might be, to step slightly out of Goof Corner, there might be a way to do it. I mean, people lose their memories all the time and are still fully functioning humans. Then again, that might just be in fictional TV shows when you get a bonk on the head. You get a bonk on the head, you lose all your memories, but you still remember speech and like
Jason
motor
Bourning.
function.
You're talking about Jason Bourning.
Jason Bourning.
They would want to Jason Bourne him.
So yeah, he wakes up and he's Jason Bourne, but he does have 9 months of memories of being on their planet.
Yeah, he has 9 months of memories for sure.
But he definitely wouldn't be like the man she loves. No, he wouldn't
No.
have any wisdom. He wouldn't have any knowledge.
Yeah, he could be a weapon. If you Jason Bourne him,
because he would still have his psychic powers.
if you Jason Bourne him in some type of a strong head bonk scenario, and he can't remember where he's from, but he can still remember to talk, and he still has all of his old skills, and he has his telepathic abilities, and he's now telepathic Jason Bourning. This is a weapon you can use, but he's not going to be like, remember those laughs we had, or like that inside joke that we tell to each other that references my childhood.
Or even like, did you like how I was a compassionate man before? I won't be. That's a nurture, not a nature. I mean, by nature, he probably is a nice guy, but like he's so educated. He's so learned. These are the things you love about him. He can't quote Shakespeare to you anymore.
Yeah.
He can't do any of these things. He can't compare you to earth flowers. He'll be like, you look nice. I have no frame of reference.
I don't remember poetry. You good look. Bye.
Pretty.
He's just yelling that.
Awooga! Awooga!
And she's like, that's the man I love. And he proved he loves me.
I'm gonna marry that. While we're on Charles's weird adventures in space, real Lex Luthor energy when you put a bald guy in a mech suit.
Yeah, it did have strong Lex Luthor energy.
I was like, I know we just did like clone stuff, but I'm like, is this Lex Luthor? It's like even got like the same color palette.
Yeah, it's a little close.
Superman?
It's a little close. Yeah, he did look very similar to like Ready to Fight Superman.
Yeah, I would have maybe done a couple like alterations on this look.
To make it a little less Lexy.
Little less. We would have just focused on just legs. I don't know why he needs any upper body stuff.
Although weirdly, I think they tried to make him less Lex Luthor-y because like his colors are already kind of like that green, which like Luthor is like a green and purple type of a villain. So it's like they tried to give him a color palette that wasn't, and it still somehow ended up kind of looking like Lex. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Lex vibes.
Here's my favorite thing about the Shi'ar.
Tell me more about the Shi'ar.
They have these silly little haircuts. They have silly little haircuts.
If you wipe his memory, you think those are great.
Maybe he
they're
thinks
all
those
you
are
know.
great. Yeah.
They're all you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're charming in a silly way. So you'd want my History of Earth haircuts to be like, these are fun and silly. They have silly little haircuts that are just like these big lines that some of them it goes ear to ear and some of them it goes like nose to back, depending on the shape of your head hair. I don't know. And they build little helmets for them. That's what I find the silliest thing. Is that when they take off their helmet doesn't even cover most of their head. It's mostly to protect their fun little haircuts.
It is, yeah.
And that's the silliest thing about the Shi'ar to me is that when they get ready, they put on little hair helmets. Little hair
You know what?
helmets.
That's fair. It's like they've like just hairsprayed it to the point of like, I can't let this get flat.
Yeah.
I cannot show up after battle and have my
Yeah.
not be perfect.
They have a
Now,
helmet.
Are you sure that's hair?
Not 100%.
Okay, we're not.
I'm not 100. It's not a zero sum. It's not a zero sum.
Because I'm pretty sure we've never done a live action Shi'ar.
Yeah.
We have not decided if this is a hair, if this is a headpiece.
I'm going to flat out say if they end up doing a live action Shi'ar, it's just going to be fucking hair.
It's just going to be hair.
It's going to become in canon hair.
Will the helmets then fit nicely over the hair?
Yeah, that is the.
I can see them doing like that thing where like Captain Marvel had her mohawk come out of her helmet.
Oh, I could kind of see that.
That would work a little.
Yeah, they split the difference a little bit.
It's kind of like how Wolverine's like little like eyepieces are the same shape as his pointy hair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think the Shi'ar would like Wolverine.
I think they would.
They'd be like, "You get it.
This guy gets it.
That's why they don't like Charles, is because he's bald.
Personality-wise,
They
they
don't care that he's a
would
Terran.
they would not like Wolverine in any way.
But they don't like Charles because he's a bald Terran.
I love that Guardian calls it where he's like, "Sounds like we'd like Magneto a lot." And I'm like, I think they would.
He's got luscious, gorgeous hair.
Yeah.
Wolverine could get his memories wiped, no problem.
Oh yeah, Wolverine wouldn't give a shit. Wolverine would be like, "Wipe them. I'm tired."
I've only got a few in there.
I don't know. It's all jangling around.
I started like 5 years ago going forward.
Let's do this fresh.
Start fresh.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about X-Men 97. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I love that it's a weekly drop. I love having a show to be excited about to watch every week. I think we stop dropping shows all at once.
Yeah.
Weekly drops are where it's at.
It's very fun to have a weekly drop.
Very fun. The way that we can all talk about each episode over and over, like as it happens. Like there wouldn't have been the cultural moment of Gambit's death if they had dropped this all at once.
I fully agree with that as well.
And I'm having a great, wonderful time. Can't wait for more. Way to go, everyone working on X-Men 97.
Kudos. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, to please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening right now, there's a very good chance you can leave us a 5-star review. And that would be great. And when you leave that 5-star review, you can probably also leave a little write-up and be like, damn, they're so great. Love these guys. Canada, shout out. Whatever.
Love that.
Whatever you like writing.
Love that. Whatever you like
Use your
writing,
skills.
put it in there. It helps us move up the charts. It helps us find new listeners. It warms our hearts. It's a free way to support the podcast. If you do want to support the podcast monetarily, though, you can do that over on our Patreon page. Patreon is a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe at whatever is in your budget, and you'll get cool and exclusive bonuses for doing so. Even if you only have $1 in your budget, you can kick in $1 a month, and all of those really add up and are the reason we are able to make this our full-time job and dedicate to the network and keep producing podcasts and doing fun things for you. And at the $1 level, you get our webcomic a day early. Then at the $3 level, you will get your episodes early and ad-free as well. So you can skip the ads and you can listen to these early, which is awesome and a lot of fun, especially when we're talking about new shows and movies like this one. And as well, at the $10 level, you will get an exclusive bonus episode of the podcast that's just for our patrons every single month. So you get a monthly exclusive bonus episode at the $10 level.
Those are all so great. They're all really, really fun. And also everything backlogs. Like if you get the $3, you get everything in the one. If you get the $10, you get everything at 3 and 1. So it all kind of accumulates into fun, big packages.
It all stacks up. And this month,
Stacks.
it stacks. And this month's Patreon exclusive, we did Shin Godzilla, and that was a lot of fun. So you can check that out over on the Patreon. And when you sign up, you get immediate access to the full back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. Also, even if you sign up at the $3 level and you want like the early and ad-free, you also get the back catalog of early and ad-free as well. So
If you just want ad-free episodes of all our stuff.
yeah, you can go back and listen to some old ad-free ones as well. So that's all available over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is Patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
Very minimal. I really like the show. My change is going to be mostly a thing we talked about in the spoiler-free review section, actually. I didn't really like how little kind of previously on or information about kind of the set of the world we were in. Like, I get that you can assume we know who every character is. Like, there's enough zeitgeist in the world that we know who Wolverine is. We know who Jean Grey and Cyclops and Magneto are. But where they currently are in their lives, I don't think was explained enough. They really acted like we had just watched the 1997 finale and like turned this on. And like we have, I think, fairly said other shows have not been very welcoming to people who weren't familiar with like previous stuff. I'm gonna say the Ahsoka show specifically. We were like, if you didn't watch the cartoon, they didn't explain anything. And I think that goes here as well. You can't just assume we remember where we left off. So I really would have liked, not even necessarily in the story, but if they'd just done a previously on in episode 1, which was not there, I actually would have been wildly happy. Previously on, I actually have no idea how Xavier died. Would have liked to have known that. I don't know where we're at with Magneto when he becomes the leader. I'm like, when's the last time we fought him? How's Genosha doing? Like, I don't know the last thing Magneto did before this.
Yeah.
Which I think adds to like him joining this team. I'm like, what did we fight him like last week?
I think he was chaotic
allies?
neutral last we saw him with Asteroid M. But
recently, like I just don't remember. So honestly, really, all I wanted was more recap on where we were in each character's lives recently. We kind of just get dropped in and not really told what's been going on. So just like, I don't know, like a 5-minute previously on, I would have been happy as hell. Like an optional one maybe on Disney Plus that you can play.
Ah, yeah.
Just like you know how you can skip the intro if you want? Who
Yeah,
would?
who
Take
would?
that button away.
Who would? Go straight to hell.
Replace the skip intro button with a watch previously on button.
Nice.
That's my change.
Nice.
Andrew, what would you change?
I fully respect that. I think that that's awesome. I can't remember if there was previously on. So you're sure there wasn't though, right? Yeah. Well,
I think it did. If it did, I forgot and didn't feel informed.
Yes, I do think that if it did, there was still a little bit more work to do, I think, to welcome potentially younger and new audiences to this as well.
Yeah.
I like that it maintains the spirit, but I'm with you. There are things that they could have done to, I think, onboard new people in a more gentle and welcoming way.
Yeah, I felt like I came back from a commercial break.
Yes, yeah, which has a fun energy to it, but it isn't perfect. It isn't perfect.
It does make you feel like you're still in 1997.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I'm with you on that. I agree 100%. I think that this is so good that there's really not a lot I would change about it. As a Wolverine fan, I understand that he is a scene stealer and kind of a showstopper, but I would like to maybe get at least like a D storyline with him.
Oh, D, that's pretty low.
To get
give him a C.
give him a C storyline, to get a little bit more than just kind of like a weird smooch, a little bit more than a prop, where it's like I understand the instinct to fight against him because you're trying to make it an ensemble. And he is a scene stealer, but like I would like a little bit more Wolverine out of this, because also I think that Wolverine has a lot of interesting tertiary characters as well, whether it be like all of the other teams he's been part of, whether it's like Alpha Flight or Canada or the government experiments or Sabretooth or Omega Red. I'm like, there is a lot of great like support. There's a lot of cool support characters in his world, and as well as his relationship and friendship with Morph, which I think we'll probably see more of as we get into Sinister. But yeah, a little more Wolverine in my life is my only real change.
I like that, and I was going to agree because I would feel like sidelining Wolverine as also sidelined Morph, and he was like so removed from the original show for so long because he was dead/missing that I'm like, let's get them all. Let's get both these guys back in here. They're good friends to each other, and I like that. And
Yes.
I kind of want to see this new mellow Wolverine actually like do stuff.
Yeah.
What's he like when he's not so angry?
Yeah, he's got his friend back, and he's a little less angry and a little bit wiser. Yeah.
I want to explore this guy.
Yep.
I can get fully behind that.
Sweet. So that's it. A little bit more welcoming to a new audience and a little bit more Wolverine. But other than that, the show is fantastic.
Chef's kiss to X-Men 97. And he's in the opening credits, so I assume more Nightcrawler is coming in my future. So thank you.
I have a feeling you'll get a little bit more of that in your future.
A little bit more Kurt for me.
Well, that is going to do it for this week. That's going to do it for X-Men 97. Next week, we are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about the original Planet of the Apes. The Planet of the Apes 1968 is what we're going to be talking about.
We're going way back.
Way back, because a couple weeks after that then is going to be the release of the new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which we'll be covering on the podcast. So we will be talking about the Planet of the Apes 1968 next week.
Should we do a spoiler-free review of?
I think.
Do you think people might not know?
It was worth the whole time.
No!
Oh, we ruined it.
Ruined it.
And as well, if you're listening to this the week it comes out, I will let you know that if you happen to be in the Ottawa area, I'm going to be performing in Ottawa, performing stand-up comedy April 25th to 27th. 25th, I will be at Brew Revolution just outside of Ottawa in Stittsville, and 26th and 27th, I will be at Laugh Lounge at downtown Ottawa. So if you're in the Ottawa area, come on out to my live shows. It is April 25th to 27th. And if you want to find out more stuff about that, you can check out my social media. I am mostly on Instagram at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me on Instagram at Threads, at Pics of Diana. You can find me at Tumblr at Words of Diana. And you can find both of us at FromSuperheroes.com.
Absolutely. FromSuperheroes.com. You can find all the other podcasts and at From Superheroes on most places. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.